That November evening had the kind of chill that seeps through your sleeves and settles in your bones. Halloween had ended a few days ago, but Maple Drive still clung to the ghost of it, drooping cobwebs, half-deflated pumpkins, and forgotten decorations sagging under the weight of cold air. I was outside pulling fake tombstones from the lawn, racing the sunset before the sky went fully gray. Across the street, my neighbor's scarecrow still stood watch in his yard. It had been there all October, part of the neighborhood's tradition, but something about it never sat right with me. The others were plastic or straw-filled. His wasn't. The clothes were real, faded flannel, worn jeans, old boots that looked like they'd walked miles. The head was the worst part, a burlap sack roughly stitched into the shape of a face, the seams uneven, the mouth too wide. I'd always told myself it was just clever craftsmanship, but that night, as I packed away plastic pumpkins, I noticed something strange. The head wasn't tilted toward the street anymore. It was angled slightly downward, toward me. I tried to laugh it off, blaming the wind. Except there wasn't any. The air was unnervingly still, like the whole cul-de-sac was holding its breath. Even the trees looked frozen in place. Mr. Dorsey, my neighbor, was nowhere in sight. He never was. He was the kind of man who mowed his lawn at dawn and took his trash out after midnight. The scarecrow was his one visible contribution to our little community. As I reached for the porch lights, unscrewing the orange bulbs, I found myself glancing back every few seconds. Each time I looked, it felt different. First the shoulders, then maybe an arm, subtle things my brain tried to explain away. Then came the moment I couldn't reason through. I turned for just a second, and when I looked back, the scarecrow's head was facing my front door. I stood still, trying to convince myself it was just the lighting. My pulse kicked up. I grabbed the last plastic skull and dumped it into the bin, forcing myself not to look again. But curiosity always wins. I looked. And that's when I saw it, the faint reflection where eyes should have been. Two dim glints behind the burlap. My mouth went dry. Maybe glass marbles, I thought. A trick of the light. Anything. But when one of them blinked, slow, deliberate, I froze completely. The garbage bag slipped from my hand. The street was empty, silent, yet the weight of being watched pressed on my chest. I told myself not to move, not to cross the street, not to do anything that might make it real. I grabbed my decorations, shoved them inside the bin, and hurried up the porch steps. Inside, warmth met me like a wall, but it didn't help. The unease followed me in, clinging like frost. I tried to distract myself with the TV, pretending the noise was enough to make the world normal again. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something outside hadn't moved on with the season. Every time the screen flashed bright, I caught myself glancing at the window, half expecting to see that crooked figure standing closer. Through the half-open blinds, Mr. Dorsey's yard sat empty, or at least it looked that way. The space where the scarecrow should have been was just darkness now, and somehow that felt worse. I told myself he must have taken it down. Maybe he finally decided it was time. But my gut said otherwise. Around 9 o'clock, my phone buzzed, Tyler reminding me about the game. That small, normal sound felt like oxygen. I texted back, made popcorn, turned on all the lights. Still, I kept checking the door. I double-locked it, just in case. When the knock came, it wasn't loud. Just 3 soft taps, too light to be a stranger, too deliberate to be the wind. I thought it was Tyler, so I opened the door without even thinking. The porch was empty. The street beyond it stretched out silent under the yellow streetlight. Then, near the bushes, something shifted. A hint of color, red and black flannel, barely visible between the branches. Every muscle in my body tightened. I stepped back, heart racing, and shut the door slowly, locking it again. My phone buzzed, almost there, Tyler texted. The timestamp said 10 minutes ago. Something creaked above the sound of my pulse. The porch boards. Slow weight shifting from one step to the next. I held my breath and leaned toward the peephole. At first, nothing, just darkness. Then the light flickered once, and in that brief pulse, I saw it, the burlap face, inches from the glass. I stumbled backward, tripping over the coffee table. Snacks spilled across the rug. I fumbled for my phone and called Tyler, but it went straight to voicemail. The silence on the other end sounded heavier than any static. I turned every light in the house on. It didn't help. The shadows stayed thick, glued to the corners. The porch light outside flickered again, then went completely out. I forced myself to the window beside the door and pushed the curtain just an inch aside. Nothing. No movement. Just the kind of stillness that makes you afraid to breathe too loudly. For a minute, I convinced myself I'd imagined it. Maybe the light had glitched, or maybe my brain filled the dark with what I feared most. I even let out a nervous laugh. Then came the next sound, soft, scraping, like straw brushing against the siding. It moved slowly around the house. The TV flickered again, its glow dancing over the walls as the noise circled toward the kitchen. I stood there, listening to my own heartbeat. Then something tapped against the back window, once, twice, then again. I whispered, "Tyler," knowing the answer before the word even left my mouth. No reply. Just another tap on the glass. The sound came again, softer this time, almost playful, like someone testing the window. I edged toward the kitchen, flashlight trembling in my hand. The curtain moved slightly, and I thought I saw a shape behind it. My mouth went dry. I whispered again, "Tyler," hoping I'd hear him laugh, call me paranoid, anything that sounded human. Instead, the porch light flickered back on by itself. The faint orange glow spilled through the glass, and that's when I saw it, pressed against the window, the burlap head, the uneven stitches twisting into something that almost looked like a smile. Its hand, if it could be called that, rested against the pane, straw poking out of the cuff like veins. I froze. The world shrank to that single image, that crooked grin staring in. The next second, headlights swept across the driveway, cutting through the nightmare. Tyler's car. I sprinted to the front door, flung it open, and shouted his name. He looked up from his phone, confused, asking what was wrong. I tried to speak, but my voice was gone. When I looked past him toward Mr. Dorsey's yard, the scarecrow stood back in its place, exactly where it had been, unmoving. Tyler laughed nervously when I told him what I thought I'd seen, said maybe I'd watched too many horror movies. I laughed too, pretending I believed him. The truth was, I didn't sleep that night. Morning brought dull gray light and that same uneasy quiet. Mr. Dorsey was outside sipping coffee like any normal person, the scarecrow behind him swaying gently in the breeze. I forced myself to walk over, ready to ask the question that had kept me awake for hours. "New scarecrow?" I said. He glanced at it, then at me. "Same one as last year," he replied, smiling faintly before turning back toward his porch. I nodded like it was nothing and started to walk away. But then I noticed it, something dark peeking from under the scarecrow's collar. A scrap of black fabric, thin and torn. My chest tightened when I realized it wasn't burlap. It looked like cotton. The same cotton as Tyler's t-shirt from last night. I stood there longer than I meant to, staring at that strip of fabric fluttering in the cold wind. Mr. Dorsey didn't look back. The scarecrow didn't move. But for the first time, I wished it would, just enough to prove I wasn't looking at what I thought I was. Instead, it stayed perfectly still, grinning at me through its crooked stitches. The week before Halloween always made our neighborhood look like something out of a postcard, every porch glowing orange, fake cobwebs stretched thin across bushes, skeletons dangling from tree branches that creaked in the wind. Mom had me balancing on a ladder to hang string lights while my little sister, Emily, twirled around the yard in her princess dress for the third time that week. Everything felt normal. Ordinary. Safe. That's what makes nights like that so dangerous, how perfectly harmless they start. That Thursday, Mom and Dad went to a neighborhood meeting, leaving me in charge. Emily sat cross-legged on the couch with a bowl of candy corn, glued to some vintage Halloween cartoon. The house smelled like popcorn and candle wax. I was scrolling my phone when I heard her call my name from the hallway, quiet, hesitant, like she wasn't sure she should be speaking at all. "What's up?" I asked. She pointed at the door under the stairs. "He's down there." "Who?" "The boy dressed like a ghost." I blinked at her. We didn't even have a real basement, just a small crawl space filled with cleaning stuff and a few boxes. I opened the door to prove it. The dim bulb flickered above stacks of dusty decorations and storage bins. "See?" I said. "No ghosts. No boys." Emily didn't look convinced. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "He was talking to me." A chill ran down my spine despite myself. "Emily, stop trying to scare yourself," I said, closing the door firmly. "You probably just heard the TV." She didn't answer, just sat there biting her nails and glancing at the hallway. When I put her to bed later, she made me promise to leave her door open a crack and the nightlight on. I humored her. I even checked the crawl space one more time before turning off the hallway light. That's when I noticed it. The basement door, slightly open again. I was sure I'd shut it. My skin prickled. I stepped closer and pulled it shut tight this time, even slid the small latch across. I told myself it was just the air pressure or the floorboards shifting. Anything that sounded logical. But around midnight, as I sat doing homework in my room, I heard it. 3 slow knocks. Not on the front door, lower. From the direction of the stairs. I stopped breathing for a second, listening. The sound didn't come again, but the silence that followed felt wrong, like the house was waiting for me to react. I stood up, heart hammering, and walked into the hallway. The air felt colder near the stairs, enough to raise goosebumps across my arms. The house was silent except for the faint hum of the refrigerator. I stared at that thin line of darkness under the basement door, half expecting it to move. Then came a sound, a whisper, faint but clear. A small, breathy voice saying, "Don't close the door." My whole body stiffened. I flicked on the hallway light, forcing brightness into the space, but the sound stopped. I opened the door just to prove I wasn't afraid. The light inside buzzed weakly, spilling over the usual clutter, old boxes, a broom, a stack of decorations. Nothing unusual. I laughed under my breath, but it came out shaky. "Just the pipes," I muttered, closing it again and locking it this time. When I checked on Emily, she was wide awake, staring at her window. "What's wrong?" I asked. She didn't look at me. "He said he wants to meet you next." The way she said it, flat, certain, made my stomach twist. I sat with her until she drifted off, though my mind refused to. That night, every creak in the floor and sigh in the walls felt magnified. By morning, the sunlight made it all seem silly, but part of me couldn't shake her words. Saturday arrived like a cliché, blue sky, kids running through leaves, the smell of pumpkin spice floating from someone's kitchen. Mom was out buying candy. Dad was hammering a plastic skeleton to the porch. Everything looked normal. Everything except Emily. She sat on the steps clutching her candy bucket, staring toward the side of the house. "He was waving again," she said softly. "Emily, stop. You're scaring yourself," I told her. She just nodded, still looking toward the basement door. "He said it's almost Halloween. He likes when it's cold and dark." Her words lingered with me all day. That night, I was in the kitchen making popcorn when I heard it again, a dragging sound, faint but deliberate, like fabric sliding across wood. I froze. It came from the hallway. I turned off the stove, listening. The sound came again, slower now. Then a dull thump. My first thought was Dad moving decorations, but when I called for him, there was no answer. The basement door was open again. A narrow wedge of orange light from the porch spilled through the small window, casting strange shadows that moved across the floor. The air pouring from inside was damp, colder than the rest of the house. My heart thudded in my chest as I reached for the knob. I pushed the door wide. Nothing moved. I turned on the bulb and leaned in. Everything looked exactly the same, until I saw it. Near the far wall, a faint imprint on the dust, like something had been pressed there recently. I crouched to look closer and spotted it, white fabric poking out from behind a box, crumpled like part of a sheet. For a second, my brain refused to make sense of it. It looked like the edge of a costume, like an old ghost outfit. I reached toward it, but before my fingers touched the cloth, footsteps creaked behind me. I spun around so fast I nearly dropped the flashlight. My breath caught, waiting to see Dad or maybe even Emily standing there. But the hallway was empty. The only sound was the faint hum of the heater and the pounding of my pulse. I backed away from the door, slammed it shut, and turned the latch until my fingers hurt. Then I just stood there, staring at it, half expecting it to start rattling again. Through the front window, I noticed Emily in the yard, still in her pajamas, standing right at the edge of the grass. I called her name, but she didn't move. I ran outside, my heart still racing. "What are you doing out here?" I asked. She pointed toward the neighbor's house. "He's in their yard now." At first, I thought she meant another Halloween prop. Everyone on our street had some sort of decoration up by then, skeletons, ghosts, inflatables. But when I followed her finger, I saw it, a small figure standing half-hidden behind a row of cornstalks. The sheet draped over it fluttered lightly in the wind. It looked like a child wearing a makeshift ghost costume. Except it moved. The head tilted slowly, unnaturally, toward us. My chest tightened. I told myself it had to be one of the neighbor's kids trying to spook us, but the figure didn't run or laugh. It just stood there, watching. Then it was gone. One blink, and the space behind the cornstalks was empty. Emily didn't even gasp. She just said quietly, "He only shows himself to us." I wanted to tell her she was imagining it, that maybe headlights had played a trick on our eyes. But I didn't believe myself. That night, our parents went to a Halloween party, leaving us alone again. The house felt wrong the moment they left, like it was listening. I tried to act calm for Emily's sake, made popcorn, picked a movie, but halfway through, the TV flickered and died. The lights dimmed too, just for a second. When they came back, the air felt heavier, charged. Then came the sound. Scratching. Soft at first, like fingernails on wood, coming from under the floor. Emily's eyes went wide. "He's coming up," she whispered. "Stop," I said, but my voice broke halfway through. I went to the hallway. The basement door was shut, but it was trembling slightly, like someone brushing against it from the other side. I pressed my hand to it and whispered, "There's no one there." For a second, it was quiet. Then I heard it, breathing. Slow. Shallow. Right behind the door. I stepped back instantly. Emily screamed. I turned toward her and saw her pointing at the window. Outside, under the porch light, stood the same figure. The white fabric moved gently in the wind, and I could see small hands gripping the sheet at the sides. The figure tilted its head again, studying us through the glass. I reached for my phone to call Dad, but the line filled with static. The lights flickered once more, and in that flicker, he was closer, standing right by the porch steps. Emily started crying softly, whispering something I could barely hear. He found the way in. I wanted to tell her to stop saying things that made my skin crawl, but my throat wouldn't cooperate. Then a new sound joined the silence, a hollow thump from below. Then another, louder. It was coming from under the floor. My flashlight beam shook as I aimed it toward the basement door. The latch quivered, then clicked open by itself. I froze, staring as the door creaked outward an inch at a time. Cold air spilled out, sharp with the smell of damp earth and dust. Something moved down there. I saw it before my brain could convince me otherwise, a small pale shape pulling itself upward, slow and deliberate. The white fabric trailed behind it, brushing the steps like mist. I slammed the door with all my weight and threw the lock. Then I grabbed a chair and wedged it under the handle, my arms trembling so badly I could barely hold it steady. For almost a full minute, something pounded on the other side. The chair jumped with each blow. Then it stopped. The silence that followed was somehow worse. I didn't move for what felt like hours. Eventually, I pulled Emily into my room, locked the door, and we sat there with every light on until morning. I think I fell asleep at some point because the next thing I remember was sunlight cutting through the blinds and Dad calling from downstairs. When we came out, the house looked normal again. The air felt lighter, the shadows less sharp. But when I went to check the hallway, my stomach dropped. The chair was still wedged under the handle, but the door itself stood wide open. The latch was broken clean off. Dad said it must have come loose, that old hinges sometimes do that. He laughed about it. Emily wouldn't even look at him. She just stayed by the window, watching the neighbor's yard. Later that afternoon, I passed the window myself and stopped cold. There, standing among their Halloween tombstones, was a new decoration, a small white figure wrapped in cloth. It hadn't been there yesterday. Its head was turned toward our house. I wanted to believe it was just another neighbor trying to win the street's decorating contest. But something deep in my gut knew better. The figure hadn't been bought, or built, or borrowed. It had come from somewhere else. And now it was waiting. Halloween week always brought a weird kind of peace to our street, like everyone was pretending the fake cobwebs and plastic ghosts could keep real fear out. That Friday night, I was setting up for what I thought would be the most normal evening of the month. My best friend, Ryan, was supposed to come over. We'd planned a horror movie marathon, leftover candy, maybe one last pumpkin to carve before the trick-or-treat chaos began. The air outside had that electric chill, the kind that smells faintly of smoke and cold leaves. The wind rattled the decorations just enough to make the night feel alive. Inside, everything was quiet. My parents were out at some charity thing, so it was just me, the hum of the refrigerator, and the faint whistle of air through the vents. Around 8:30, my phone buzzed. Ryan's message popped up, "I'm here." I grinned, glanced out the window expecting headlights in the driveway, but the street was empty. Just shadows, flickering pumpkins, and the long, slow sway of the trees. I texted back, "Where?" "I don't see you." No answer. I shrugged, figuring he was messing around. It was kind of his thing, show up late, jump scare me, laugh for 20 minutes about it. I turned the lights down, grabbed a blanket, and hit play on the movie. That's when I heard it. Footsteps. Slow, heavy ones coming from upstairs. For a second, I froze. The garage door hadn't opened, and I hadn't heard anyone come in. I tried to convince myself maybe I was hearing the house settle, but the steps were too steady, crossing from one side of the hallway to the other. I called out, "Ryan. You trying to freak me out?" Nothing. Then my phone buzzed again. "Outside. By your window." My hand tightened around the phone. I turned toward the living room window, the one overlooking the porch. The curtains were half drawn, just enough to see the faint orange glow of the streetlight outside. I didn't see anyone, but I swear the shadows looked different. I typed back fast, "Which window?" Before I could hit send, another sound came from upstairs, a floorboard creaking, followed by the faintest drag of a foot. The sound was slow, careful, like someone didn't want me to notice they were there. The TV's glow flickered across the wall, but the air in the house suddenly felt too heavy to breathe. My phone buzzed again. "Come outside." I'll wave. Every instinct told me not to move, but curiosity has a way of killing logic. I grabbed the flashlight from the kitchen drawer, my hands slick with sweat, and walked toward the front door. The movie kept playing in the background, some distant scream echoing from the TV, but it felt 1,000 miles away. I stood there a second, staring at the deadbolt, trying to convince myself it was fine. It was probably Ryan messing with me. It had to be. So I unlocked the door and stepped outside. The cold hit me immediately, sharp, dry, the kind that bites at your skin. The street looked normal at first. Pumpkins glowing, plastic skeletons swinging lazily from porches, paper ghosts dancing in the breeze. I called out softly, "Ryan." No response. My phone buzzed again. "I see you." The message came from Ryan's number, but his profile photo, the one of him holding his dog, was gone. Just a blank gray circle now. My breath fogged in the cold air as I typed, "Where are you?" I turned in slow circles, scanning the yard with my flashlight. The beam swept over the bushes, the driveway, the neighbor's fence, nothing. Then, out of the corner of my eye, something white moved by the side window. I swung the light toward it, catching only a flicker before it vanished. I ran over, pressed my face to the glass. Just my own reflection stared back. That was enough. I bolted back inside and slammed the door, locking it twice. My heart was hammering so hard it hurt. The warmth of the house didn't make me feel safer, it just made the silence louder. I picked up my phone to call Ryan, but before I could dial, a new message appeared. "I'm in your room. Don't come up." For a moment, my brain didn't even process the words. Then my stomach dropped so fast I thought I might pass out. My eyes flicked toward the ceiling, picturing the dark hallway above me. I whispered, "No, no, no," like saying it out loud could stop whatever was happening. I hit call. It didn't even ring, just went straight to disconnect. The house felt alive now. Every creak, every shift of air felt like it was watching me back. I could hear something upstairs again, a faint movement, like soft steps crossing from one room to another. I gripped the flashlight tighter and forced myself to the stairs. Every step groaned under my weight. Halfway up, the air grew colder, heavy like static. Then I heard it, a slow click. The sound of a door closing. I froze on the staircase, the beam of my flashlight quivering against the wall. My heartbeat was so loud I could barely hear anything else. I forced myself up another step, each one creaking louder than the last, until the hallway came into view. It was darker than I remembered. Only a sliver of light from my bedroom spilled across the floor. "Ryan?" I whispered. The word came out too small, swallowed by the stillness. Something moved. A soft shuffle. I followed it toward my parents' room, the air colder with each step. When I pushed the door open, the curtains billowed slightly, brushing the window frame. The flashlight beam cut across the dresser, and froze. There was a phone lying there, screen still lit. I recognized the lock screen before my mind could even process what that meant. It was Ryan's phone. My throat tightened. I walked closer, my flashlight trembling as I saw the open message on the screen. "I'm outside your window." That was the last text I'd gotten. My mind twisted itself in knots trying to make sense of it. If his phone was here, then who was texting me? Before I could think another thought, my own phone buzzed in my pocket. I looked down. New message, "Don't look behind you." The sound of those words seemed to crawl straight into my spine. I didn't move. Didn't breathe. The hallway behind me stretched into shadow, silent and endless. I wanted to turn, to prove nothing was there, but part of me was terrified that something would be. I turned anyway. Slowly. The hallway was empty. When I looked back toward my room, The door was open wider now, swinging gently like someone had just walked through. The flashlight flickered once, then again. In that dim pulse of light, I saw it, someone standing in the corner of my room. Tall, still, their head tilted too far to one side. I couldn't see the face, only the faint blue glow from something they held in their hand. My phone. My mouth went dry. "Who are you?" I managed to whisper. No answer. My phone vibrated again in my hand. New message, told you I was inside. The light steadied, and the corner was empty. But footsteps thundered down the stairs, heavy, uneven, too fast to be real. I ran after them, nearly tripping as I hit the living room. The front door was wide open. Cold night air rushed in like a living thing. I stepped outside, scanning the porch. Nothing. No one. Just the hollow rustle of leaves tumbling down the street. Then I saw them, footprints. Small, faint, leading away into the dark. The footprints stopped halfway down the driveway, ending in a patch of dead leaves. I shone the flashlight over them, expecting to see more tracks leading to the street, but there was nothing. Just empty pavement glinting under the weak streetlight. My phone buzzed again. The sound made me flinch so hard I almost dropped it. The message was short, "You followed the wrong one." A cold rush went through me. I turned in every direction, scanning the quiet street. Porch lights flickered in the distance. A dog barked 2 houses down. Nothing else moved. I started backing toward the front door, telling myself this was some cruel prank, maybe someone cloned Ryan's number, maybe there was some stupid glitch. Then another text appeared. "Check your window." I turned. My bedroom light, which I'd left on, was still glowing faintly upstairs. The curtain shifted once, just a small ripple like someone brushing against it. I forced myself to step back inside, locking the door behind me, though it felt pointless. The house didn't feel like mine anymore. It felt borrowed. My phone buzzed one more time before I could even catch my breath. "Stop locking me out." The message app froze on the screen, glitching in and out of focus like it was struggling to load. Then the flashlight blinked off. Total darkness. Somewhere in that dark, my phone lit up on its own. The screen flashed white, and the camera app opened. The front camera. For one horrible second, I saw my own face on the screen, wide eyes, trembling, breathing hard. Then another face appeared behind mine. Just a blur at first, pale and stretched, hovering too close. The phone slipped from my hand and hit the floor. The image vanished. I snatched it up, but the screen was black now, dead. No messages, no light. Just my reflection staring back. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the corner of the room with every light on, watching the window until the sun came up. When morning finally arrived, I called Ryan's house. His mom answered. Her voice was hoarse when she spoke. "Honey. Ryan's been missing since Thursday night." The phone nearly slipped from my hand. I couldn't speak. She kept talking, saying something about how the police found his car empty on the highway. When I finally looked toward my window again, my phone lit up on its own. One last message appeared. "Thanks for letting me in."